The legislative update is back. We've got more news on WOTUS and an interesting update on Russian grain exports, all on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
It is Thursday, and
It
that
is.
means it's time to hang out with your two best buds.
Man, lucky y'all.
Yeah, well, I was talking about me hanging out with y'all,
Oh,
but you were talking about them
Yeah,
hanging out.
people.
Okay, well, okay, yeah.
I thought you were talking about me. But
Yeah. Who's on first?
I have a failure to communicate here.
No, really, that's funny. Yeah, it's Thursday, man. It is sunny.
Sure is.
Warmish, not in here, but I bet they knew that.
Yeah, it's a given now. It's incredibly cold here.
Yeah.
Reported weekly.
So yeah, exactly. So every time we get in this room, we start having a conversation about a topic, and we get 5 minutes in. I'm like, golly, I wish we were on. Like, I wish we were
Yeah.
recording because it's just so funny. And today happened to be the topic of handshakes, and probably more accurately, missed opportunities or the
awkward handshake.
the awkward moments.
And how you determine how to approach that handshake, what kind of handshake it is.
Yeah, yeah. And then COVID kind of jacked us all up.
Yeah.
Because that brings in, and actually a precursor, I think, to the fist bump was the elbow bump.
Yeah.
That was a thing for a minute. That whole.
Not a fan.
What was worse is it seemed no two people ever seemed to be on the same page with the elbow bump. It always seemed to be a fist bump. I mean, a handshake or a fist bump met with an elbow bump, which is like some declaration of turf. It felt like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Show your dominance.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like to use the excuse that COVID messed up the handshake for me, but honestly, I don't think I ever had it right.
It's an awkward thing. It really is. I thought COVID killed the handshake. Like, I for sure thought handshakes won't come back.
Yeah.
But I was at a meeting earlier this week, and everybody was shaking hands.
But, man, when you get that perfect handshake,
Yeah.
successful
Feels
handshake,
good.
it feels good. You
Yes.
don't walk away being all awkward and weird about it.
But it almost requires like a setup, meeting of the eyes,
Yeah.
even a countdown from 3, potentially. like it requires a lot of things to go right to have
Maybe
a really
you should
good,
go about
strong
writing the
handshake.
rules.
Well, I'll tell you, I have thought about it.
Have you?
Because fist bumps, like I said, kind of mess things up. Because you know how it is. It's like fist bump, handshake,
Yeah.
I think maybe we should go like even days are for handshakes, odd days are for fist bumps or something. Like I know today I'm going to show the fist bump and that's it.
I could erase it all and go with high fives.
Yeah.
Underutilized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Big high five fan.
I started a thing in my house when we got married called the Brown High Five. Obviously, that's my last name. So when we had a big accomplishment or achievement or whatever, hey, Brown High Five, And my wife just always rolled her eyes. It never took off. We've been married 12 years, and I was still trying to get a Brown High. When we had our daughter, I'm like, here's my second chance. She's a big fan of the Brown High
Is
Five.
she?
She goes
Your wife's
for it.
outnumbered now.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, handshakes, man, can be awkward.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, we talked a little bit. I mentioned that it's nice out today. I don't think that's going to last very long.
No. It's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Yeah, and it may even start tonight here in Little Rock
Yeah.
at
It's
least.
supposed to rain again Monday, too. I think the weekend's supposed to be nice.
Weekend's going to be Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Will be nice. Maybe some storms tomorrow. But it's it's starting to get warmer. It was pretty warm last weekend. We were out and about, and I mean it got to like 85 Sunday.
Yeah.
It
I
was
don't
very
know if
nice.
Anybody else got out, but
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was nice, and I'm hoping for a maybe a little bit of a repeat this weekend.
I hope so. It should be.
Once we get through tomorrow.
You never know. It's Arkansas, though.
Well, I'm at that point, too, where it's like, oh, let's get warmer. And then I think Sunday was probably the best example of this.
Mm-hmm.
You start sweating, and you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Though. You know, it's like I kind of get a little greedy, you know.
Walking in the office sweating already. Just
Yeah,
in the parking lot.
exactly. You know, because it won't be. We don't get much of that Southern California weather before we just go straight into the extreme.
Straight to it.
We also have flies and small mosquitoes in our backyard because we've got a creek running through it.
Uh-huh.
So like this is also prime time to actually spend some time in the backyard.
Yeah.
Because eventually in the
That's
next
right.
month or two, you're done.
Yeah.
It's not Stuttgart or Eastern Arkansas, but it's enough to make you not want to be out there.
Yeah. Well, for people who didn't grow up in the Delta, they come, you'll hear them say, oh, these mosquitoes are so bad.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Little Rock, or somewhere. And you're like, dude, you don't know what a mosquito is.
It's July, you got to wear jeans
Until you've
and
been,
boots.
Exactly.
Don't go outside. Better close that door when you come in.
Yeah, better. That's why screen doors were invented,
Buffalo gnats the size of a bird.
Killing deer.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah. So not looking forward to that. You're right. It's that time of year. We got one of those propane fire bowls. Have you seen these?
Yeah, I've seen something like that.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do something.
So you can kind of, on nights like right now where it's kind of cooler at night, you can sit outside. You don't have to have firewood. You're not going to go in smelling like a campfire, but it'll keep you warm and good way to spend some time outside. So anyway,
it's great.
Something that we talked about on the topic of weather.
Yeah.
We talked about recently the peaches. I think we had that freeze a couple weeks ago. I think we were at the time sort of debating on whether or not the peaches had developed to a point of damage. But Chad on our team spent some time out and about yesterday with some peach farmers and not looking good.
No, I talked to Chad about it yesterday. Yesterday morning, I actually had a conversation with horticulture specialist at Extension, Amanda McWhort.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about Amanda this morning.
And, we'd been hearing the same thing, that peach has been hit pretty hard, and it's not looking good. But she kind of gave it a little bit brighter outlook as to it's going to be dependent on the area of the state. We got colder further north than it did south, but there's still reports of loss around the state. It's just going to be depending on the area. So, again, we're not going to have last year we had peaches. Yeah. I think the year before, though, we did not.
Yes.
So,
right.
And then if you talk to a lot of those peach guys, they say it's for every good year you've got a handful of bad years.
Is that the year that
they
they
were
were
sensitive?
Burning, like had started fires in the pasture or something to keep the ice out?
Yeah.
I
they
remember
were putting
doing a video.
laying
before I was here.
laying hay in the middle of the
Okay, that's what it was.
Trying to keep it warm.
To keep the frost out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So in Forest City, where I grew up, we had peaches everywhere. Across from my grandparents' house on Highway 1.
Really?
There was a massive peach orchard, a shop, where they sold straight to consumers. Another one out in Cross County near Village Creek. Where is there a concentration of peaches? I know we have much fewer peach producers now, but are they, can you just geographically assume?
I would say you're not going to see a whole lot in the Delta, but you said there's some back home, but
well, they're all gone now. This is the empty. In Cross County, that's a neighborhood now.
Really?
Yeah, where that peach orchard was.
And it's kind of off topic, but if for peaches, you can't just be a sole peach grower. You've got to diversify in some way, because you can't not have a crop for 3 years or 2 years, whatever, and then have one big crop. Yeah. You're just not going to make it that way. So that's why you see people like Mark Morgan, that's cattle and other things, and Derek Helms down in around Arkadelphia, his in-laws have peaches, but he also has soybeans and dairy and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
well, cool. I didn't know that, and I know those peach farmers have. Well, I'm glad to hear that the impact may not be as bad as we thought.
It's not good. I think it's more bad than it is good.
Let's not be clear.
Yeah,
Let's be clear about that. Okay.
And
let's just keep a little hope.
Yeah, so. And some strawberries got hit. I was thinking that they were going to be okay, but that's what Amanda was saying, that some of those strawberries that already had young green fruit on them, they were hit, but they'll have a second flowering, whereas peaches don't. They only flower once.
Yeah.
So if it's impacted at that stage, they're wiped out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think Chad's planning to talk to Amanda,
Yes.
is what we were saying this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So look for something, probably next week.
Yeah. She's a good one to talk to.
On that
Real
topic.
sharp.
To that end, on weather planning progress report, we kind of talked about this a couple times on the show. It's something we normally will report on. Once those reports start coming out, we usually bring those to the show. Planning progress has been so slow. Like I pulled it up this morning just to look and see. So I think last week when we talked, corn was at 1%. We've doubled to 2% planted.
Progress.
Yeah, making progress there. Rice got on the board at 1% planted. And then, really nothing else. So we're still dragging along. And I'm curious to you, what does this mean to are we concerned? I know beans are fine, but are we concerned yet with corn?
I wouldn't think so. No, I'm no specialist in corn. I should say that. But a lot of it just depends on ground temperature.
I did look at soil temperature yesterday.
Right now, you've got a lot of wet areas, but it's starting to dry up. I think a lot of farmers are moving or getting to that point, getting everything ready. But whether it's corn, soybeans, rice, or any type of crop, the later you wait, the more it'll impact your yields. There's going to be a cutoff date for each one of those crops
and
for planting.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. So the longer you wait past that, the more you can expect a lower yield.
Your yield loss.
Yeah.
So I did tweet out yesterday a soil temperature map, and it looked like we're at 50, 55 degrees here in the state, pretty much. Okay, well, good. I wanted to know about that.
I would imagine in the next few weeks you're going to see a big increase in these numbers.
Yeah. Okay, good. If it stays dry. Yeah. Okay. Your team has got something new out, yeah?
Yeah. So Brandy Carroll, Tyler Oxner, and Jake Cartwright put out a new Ag Insider. It's a commodity outlook. They USDA put out a report, and they kind of just put out their thoughts and expectations on what all that meant. If you want to check that out, please go to our website at arfb.com, search Ag Insider. And it should be right there. I think it's about a 4-page report.
Yep.
So
I was looking at it.
They put a lot of good work into it, and hopefully our producers can use that information going forward.
Yep. And I know that a lot of folks are anticipating the next crop outlook report from USDA, which I think is next week. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, starting to see. I saw a little glimmer of prediction yesterday that maybe corn will go up a bit. Yeah. And soybeans are going to decrease. But I don't know about that.
The thing about soybeans, I think the biggest takeaway there is Brazil's expecting a bumper crop this year.
Which we've talked about many times on this show.
And how is that going to affect the U.S. market or the U.S. soybeans? So that'll be interesting to see where we go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing before we dive into the news, and that is Arkansas Farm to School is hosting a Bringing the Farm to School producer training. That will be on April 11th in Fort Smith at the River Events Center. Really, this event is targeted at farmers in Arkansas and Oklahoma who are interested in learning and connecting with school markets, being able to get in that market. This is something I'm sure you're very familiar with. The link was, frankly, a little long and went straight to a registration form. So I'll just tell you, you can check out the Arkansas Ag Department's website to find a link to register for that. But it seems like a pretty cool program and a day-long training. And,
producers are always trying, especially, local food producers, especially crops or even local protein. Are trying to find a way to get into that market. And sometimes it's difficult, especially for the produce side of things, because everybody's out of school in summer, and that's when most of those crops come off. So, the farm to school program's trying to get out there, put boots on the ground, and try to educate people and help and assist and how they can get involved. So that's a good thing.
Good deal. Well, check that out if you're interested, or if you've got some specialty crops or produce that you're growing, and All right, well, let's jump right into this week's legislative update. We are back from spring break recess, and it's been a busy week so far. We'll start with SB 324. This is the bill we commonly refer to as Health Benefits Bill. This bill would give farmers and ranchers and others, of course, more options to consider for their family's health care coverage. As we know, many Farm Bureau members are self-employed, farmers who struggle to find affordable health care. If you're signed up for our text alerts, then you probably got a notice this morning asking you to contact your legislator and request that they support this bill. Hopefully you were able to do that. We're recording on Thursday morning, and by the time you're hearing this, the bill will have been voted on in the House this afternoon.
Yeah, that link's really easy to access. You click on it, put in your information, and boom, it's gone. So,
yeah, I know this bill made it out of House committee yesterday. It's on the House floor today, and then it will go back to the Senate floor because it's received an amendment since it left there, and for a final vote. So anyway, let's see. HB 1003 is still out there. This is the new and beginning farmer tax credit bill we've really talked about all session. This bill is sponsored by Representative Julie Mayberry and Representative Denise Gardner. It's a bipartisan sponsored bill that stands to make a meaningful impact on our industry. In addition, there's an animal health bill, HB 1662, and a fencing law bill, HB 1677 out there, plus a conservation tax credit bill that we're tracking, which is HB 1680. Of course, there's much more out there that we're following and tracking along with. You can see all of that in the government relations biweekly email update, the legislative update there. As the session begins to wind down, it will inevitably get busier for the home stretch. I think this week's great proof of that. We'll do our best to report updates here, but I can tell you in many cases it's moving faster than we can move as a once-a-week program. So we'll do the best that we can do here. John, how about some news that doesn't involve legislation?
Yeah, some new news on WOTUS. So,
I said that doesn't involve legislation, but you're bringing the legislation.
Yeah, I am on the federal side of it. So we have some new developments in the Waters of the U.S. rule, are also known as WOTUS, this week. As reported last week, a federal judge in Texas filed an injunction on the rule for the states of Texas and Idaho. This injunction put a hold on the rule in anticipation of a Supreme Court ruling in the case of Sackett versus EPA. The Sackett case has been going on since October, and it is between an Idaho couple and the EPA over whether or not the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals followed the proper legal test for determining whether wetlands and how they qualify as waters of the U.S.
Nice.
A ruling on the case is expected sometime this spring. Whatever ruling comes from this case will more than likely determine if the federal courts uphold it or reject the new WOTUS rule.
Okay.
So moving kind of forward to this week, just yesterday, Wednesday, Republicans achieved a majority vote passing a bill through the Democratic-led Senate that will overturn the controversial WOTUS rule under the Clean Water Act. This in effect sends the bill to President Biden's desk, where the president is expected to veto the measure.
Which kicks it back to the court, really.
Yeah, exactly. So, American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall has asked President Biden to follow Congress and rescind the rule by saying farmers and ranchers are committed to protecting the land and water they rely on to grow food for America's families. Unfortunately, the 2023 WOTUS rule threatens the progress made to responsibly manage natural resources. We urge President Biden to recognize the concerns from members of both parties and rescind this troubled rule. If the president, and I'll add there, is if the president does veto the bill, it will be, like you were saying, up to the Supreme Courts and their ruling in Sackett versus EPA to determine if the rule needs to be rewritten.
Okay. Yeah.
It's also worthy to note that, since the Republicans won this with a Democratic-held Senate, that the votes that they needed to make the simple majority vote were from Democrats. The extra votes, the Democrat Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Jackie Rosen of Nevada, and John Tester of Montana, as well as Senator Kristen Sinema. She's an independent of Arizona.
Yep.
Also, the day before the bill passed, so the bill passed on Wednesday. This was the day before on Tuesday. the House Appropriations Subcommittee held a hearing where EPA Administrator Michael Reagan was drilled about the latest Clean Water Act rewrite. Reagan stated that he doesn't believe the EPA expanded federal authority and that the new rule actually narrowed the test put forward by the Supreme Court on making the Clean Water Act determinations. He also mentioned that the USDA supported this rule.
Okay.
Lastly, Reagan also explained that they moved forward with codifying a number of exemptions that the agriculture community requested of them.
Mm-hmm.
He plans on respecting the Supreme Court's decision and that they are in a better position to adjust any new rulings as to avoid a long rule-making process. So more or less is that more than likely the president's going to veto this bill.
Right.
And then it's going to be, like you said, up to the Supreme Courts and how it goes.
Yeah.
What direction it goes.
So Senators Manchin and Sinema, have a tendency sometimes to side with the other side of the aisle. So seeing that, not really surprised, but seeing some of these other names on the list is, certainly interesting to see gain that traction. And like you said, a Democrat-led Senate. So anyhow, we'll keep our eyes on this, of course. It feels like this is the second, at least the second, if not the third week consecutively that we've had some WOTUS news. So.
And when it comes back and whenever that Supreme Court makes that ruling in the spring, we'll definitely report on it again.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
All right. Let's take a short break from the news to hear a bit about our foundation and the role it plays in Arkansas.
At the heart of Arkansas are its farm families. The Arkansas Farm Bureau Foundation works to provide financial support to rural communities. Since its creation, the foundation has donated more than $1.5 million to community disaster assistance, Egg in the Classroom materials, MASH scholarships, support of Arkansas FFA and 4-H, sponsoring local events, and donations to other charitable organizations. Through our efforts, we have had the opportunity to impact lives in every county in the state. We believe by investing in local communities, we will improve the lives of Arkansas families. Help us ensure the future of agriculture and the rural way of life by donating today.
The work of our foundation is so important across this state. If you've not taken the time to learn about the work our foundation does, you can do so at arfb.com. Mac, for our regular listeners of the show, that we talk a lot about the farm economy, so much so that one of our hosts is indeed an economist.
Yeah, it's almost every week I talk about it.
So when we see news like this next story show up, we've got to bring it to you. The headline here is that farm bankruptcies fell again in 2022. In fact, 2022 saw 169 Chapter 12 bankruptcy filings for farms in the U.S., which was the lowest number reported since Chapter 12 became permanent in 2005. Filings were down nearly 30% over 2021. The trend is encouraging considering just 3 years ago in 2019, the U.S. saw nearly 600 farm bankruptcies, according to data from the U.S. courts. Although the news is positive on a whole for the U.S. ag industry, there were some regions that saw considerable increases in those bankruptcy filings. The Mid-Atlantic, West, Northwest, and other category of regions. The Southeast region, however, which includes Arkansas, had an 11% drop over 2021 for a total number of farm bankruptcy filings of 47.
Okay.
Arkansas accounted for 7 of those filings in the region. The Midwest region saw the sharpest decline, dropping nearly 70% from the previous year. Yeah. Overall, in 2022, the USDA reports that there were just over 2 million farms in the U.S., which was down, and I'm going to give you an exact number here, 9,350 farms from 2021.
Wow.
All this said, we must keep an eye on the future. As we've reported here before, these bankruptcies follow farm income.
Yeah.
And USDA's most recent farm sector income forecast, which I think we've talked about here, released last month, and actually anticipates a reduction in farm income in 2023.
Yeah.
Not a good as these patterns follow. Not necessarily a good indicator for the future of that we stay on this positive front on farm bankruptcies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Input costs have been so high the last few years, but commodity prices have been high too. So maybe that kept people out of the red. But it's good news to hear that this is down, because in economics, I seem like we tend to report on bad speculations,
negative stuff. Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you're rubbing off on me or what, but yesterday, so this story came from the Market Intel publication that American Farm Bureau does, and it's really great. This is, I think, the second week in a row I brought something from them. But I mean, this came along with incredible maps. You know, a lot of data that we didn't include just because it can get so dense here. But I don't know if you're rubbing off on me or what, man. But I just really got in. I spent probably
it's important
more
stuff,
time than I care to admit digging into this yesterday.
Yeah. So when somebody asks you what an economist does, you've got a better ability now to kind of speak on that.
I say they talk about numbers and stuff. That's as a PR person. That's it's either numbers or it isn't. And I run numbers. Far away from numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, lastly here on my end of things, Cargill Inc., one of the largest commodity traders and grain exporters of Russian wheat, plans to stop exporting Russian grain.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So more news from that issue over there between Russia and Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
This development adds to the ongoing uncertainty over the future of the Black Sea crop shipments. However, Russia believes Cargill's exit will have little impact on overall shipments from the country. A Russian ministry spokesperson assured that Russia, quote, is ready to work with all foreign companies whose activities contribute to the development of both domestic food market of Russia and its export potential. The ministry spokesperson goes on to add, quote, that any gaps in the market are being promptly filled by Russian companies. So it sounds like they plan to do that, take up that slack by their own, on their own. Although Russian crops aren't under sanction, trade can be very complicated by restrictions on the country's banks and other state companies. Coupled with recent Ukraine crop export deals still unclear, wheat prices on Wednesday hit their highest mark in over a month yesterday by climbing 2.5% to $7.17 a bushel in Chicago.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. I would assume that's probably going to go down, though.
Yeah. Well, that Russia-Ukraine export thing has gone back and forth really since this whole thing began.
Yeah. It's an odd deal. So
yeah.
It is also worthy to note that since the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, that Bunge and Archer Daniels Midland Company also said that they will be suspending or scaling back operations in Russia. Also read that there were some other commodities such as crude oil and companies that were looking to buy specific metals are kind of pulling back a little bit or kind of worried about doing business over there as well.
Yeah.
So agricultural commodities aren't the only ones. Also, Cargill has promised the Russian ministry that shipments for this agricultural season will be fully met with a previously approved quota that they had before. So this season they're going to go ahead and go through with what they promised, but after that you're going to see Cargill back it completely out.
ABC.
Yeah.
Out of Russia, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting news. We'll see what that does for the world markets, if anything. We've continued to report on any sort of agricultural impacts of this conflict in Russia and Ukraine. We'll continue to do that, but
still continues to make an impact.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those stories that you sent it to me. Hey, what do you think? Somebody sent it to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I was actually kind of looking at it too. I mean, it kind of hit from a few different directions. So I'm glad we were able to bring that to the show today. Well, the saddest time of the day.
I'm ready to get it over with.
I thought you'd be looking forward to this. I mean, by now. Come on.
I will tell you, I'll say this, not to step on your toes, but I didn't have anything about brackets in the first part of the show. So I'm anticipating that you make that a part of it, which means less time for trivia.
Well, I mean, we can't really do brackets today so much. I mean, we did. There were more games, obviously.
Right.
I think it's fair to say nobody chose this Final Four.
My sister has a FAU going all the way except for winning it.
Are you kidding?
No
and
way.
Then her husband has UConn going to the finals as well, but they're winners.
Wow.
She picked Gonzaga to win, and he picked Arizona.
So I had Houston, and I was winning my bracket challenge until Houston got knocked out, and like, we haven't even got to the championship, and we've all paid our debt to the, because like nobody can win except for this one guy who had UConn picked.
Wow,
I was out the first round.
Well, we know how your bracket took a dive ball. Purdue.
Yeah.
The Boilermakers. That's all you need to know.
They're gonna stay in the boiler room.
The only basketball news I was going to mention was right before we came in here to record, did you see the announcement about Nick Smith Jr.?
No.
That
is
was
he going to the draft?
He's doing it. They had expected he would possibly do that, and he confirmed it.
I saw something right before we came down here is that, he was expected to be a lottery pick.
Yeah.
But they're projecting him not to be anymore.
Oh.
That doesn't keep him out of the first round by any means, but
no.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's a salary decrease.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish him the best.
For that young
absolutely.
man.
Yeah, but I hate to see him go early. But
Yeah.
I wonder what Anthony Black's going to do.
Man, I hope he stays.
Me too.
I hope he stays.
I bet
Sure.
Jordan Walsh does.
Yeah.
We're having some fun right now. I'd like to see them all stick around. But,
Yeah.
Especially with the recruit they got coming in. What's the tall guy's name? Man, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. You might be looking it up in the middle of the dead silence after these questions.
Oh, that's funny.
And no cheating. Don't be looking up the answers to these.
Did you watch baseball opening day yesterday, right?
Of MLB?
Yeah.
No, I did watch the Razorbacks play.
Oh, well,
over the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to Major League Baseball that much. I mean, as much as I have to. But.
I mean, this new play clock, pitch clock,
Yeah.
and Major League
Supposed to
Baseball,
speed it
even
up.
in college, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
You want them to take their time.
I
More
like
time
that.
for peanuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, watching it on TV, I get it. It can be a little boring, but being at the game, it's a
I've never been
event,
bored at a baseball game.
No, I mean, hey.
There are pitcher battles that, can get a little
If
but
if I'm a pitcher or a batter, that's part of the game. You're anticipating, waiting on, is he going to throw it? Is he going to try to get somebody out? I mean, you got to be ready.
Well,
so for them to put a clock up, man, I just don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, not all sports have to be the same. Not
Right.
all
Yeah.
sports
Right.
have to be fast paced.
Right.
Not all sports have to be.
Like if you take too much time, it's automatically a ball.
Yeah.
And that affects the game.
Yeah,
It does.
Well, I got into soccer last year. Yeah.
World Cup.
Well, I've always kind of watched the World Cup, but I mean, like, got into Premier League and watch it, and I've always been that I can't watch soccer.
You got to
It's so
wake up early in the
boring.
morning to watch that.
That's one of the things I like about it. That's one of the things that talked me into it. And by goodness, 6:30 on Saturday mornings, first game. Coffee and soccer. But I always thought it was boring. They're just, and once you start to understand the game, just like people don't understand how they can let ties happen. When you understand it, that's a point. That can be a victory.
Yeah,
sure.
Tying a lesser team, having a tie is a great victory. They get a point out of that, and things like that. So I look, if baseball wants to be slow, let it be slow.
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's my trigger.
Yeah.
That recruit, his name's Bayfall. He's coming in this year.
Where's he from?
For next season. I'm not real sure.
Okay.
Well, that's great.
Did we use enough time to not do your
I think
portion?
you're attempting to, but
Keep
I will tell
keep
you.
on filibustering.
I want to give credit where credit's due.
You know what offsides means in soccer, right?
But these I got these from BuzzFeed.
Cool.
They posted some of the "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" questions. So we're playing "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" today.
Added pressure.
So you guys have been doing great. Want to give credit where credit's due. You've been doing good.
Okay. We've been doing okay.
All right. So, first question.
Okay.
What is the smallest fish in the world?
Smallest fish in the world.
Smallest fish.
I'm going to assume this is a riddle.
Yeah. A bird?
No, those are crickets because I'm not hearing anything.
I thought that was a hint.
I don't know.
Minnows are pretty small,
Minnows,
but tadpoles.
Oh, tadpoles.
Well, is a tadpole considered a fish?
They do have
For a
gills.
minute. For a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on the right track.
Okay.
It's a minnow, so I'll give you partial credit.
Okay.
So, any guesses?
No, I don't have one.
It's the dwarf minnow.
The dwarf minnow.
Dwarf minnow.
Should have just guessed that. Baby minnow.
Yeah, that's right. Mini minnow. You could have just said it.
See, this is the mental gymnastics because I'm like, this is going to be so tricky.
That's right. That's right.
Dwarf minnow.
Always missing the dad joke concept of these.
Yeah.
Second question. What is the longest river in the United States?
The
Well,
longest
he
river.
wants us to say Mississippi.
Yeah. The Arkansas River's pretty
Arkansas
long.
River. That's my guess.
Okay.
Is the Rio Grande pretty long? Is it the Long River?
Would you believe it is the Missouri River?
Missouri?
Missouri
Yeah,
River.
yeah.
Huh.
Missouri River. Longest river.
Have you seen the Arkansas in Colorado?
I have not. I've wanted to.
So you can just walk across it.
You know, rivers can be tricky because of all the windy everything,
Mhm.
but, you stretch it out. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing that's what it is.
The Missouri River.
Missouri
That's
River.
interesting. Yep.
Okay, we're going to go back to colonial times with this one.
History.
What
You
was
good
the
at
most widely grown crop in the middle colonies?
Hemp? Tobacco?
Tobacco, for sure.
Wheat.
Wheat?
Really?
Wheat.
Any background? Any history on that? No?
Not on BuzzFeed. We could probably dive into it a little further, but
Yeah.
they claim
You know what
it
that
was
tells
wheat.
me?
What?
There was no gluten issues back then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
None aware anyway. So
Yeah.
So
And
you guys
no keto diet
Keto back
either.
do you want me to
Say what
end
you
it
had.
right there?
Yeah.
So 0 for 3, or do you want me to go for one more? It's a long one, but I could go for it if you wanted to attempt to get this one, because
Why
I
not?
think you could. I think you could
Okay.
get this one.
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
one more.
Okay.
A farmer notices that every day for the past 10 days,
This is a riddle.
it is a riddle.
Okay.
You're correct.
I just
So
making notes.
again, partial credit. A farmer notices that for every day for the past 10 days, the number of pigeons in his field has doubled.
Okay.
There are 1,024 pigeons in the field today. There were 2 pigeons there the first day. How many pigeons were there yesterday?
1,024 today.
There wasn't any yesterday.
Are you sure?
So
about that?
you're saying 0 yesterday.
Well, you said that today there was 2.
No, today
There's
there are
1,000.
1,024.
All right. Sorry.
The first
I
day there were 2.
The first
Okay.
day
I thought you said today there were 2.
And it doubles every day?
it doubles every day.
How is that possible? Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm not going to attempt
Exponential
this. I'm
growth.
not good at math, quick math.
Yeah, no, I work in PR for a reason. Yesterday there were how many pigeons? This is one of those.
If it
too, like
doubles-
pigeons aren't in a
yeah.
field. If it doubles, 1,024. The 512.
bingo.
Okay.
It's kind of a trick question to get you all tripped up on
you're like-
everything.
you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
So if there were
what's he trying
2,
to-
how could, and there's 1,024, you're trying to do that math. All you got to
It's
do is
just a
just
word
skip
math
back
problem.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just skip back one day.
Just half of 1,024.
Math.
So with that one
So we did
question,
good.
indeed, you are smarter than a 5th grader. So there-
Not me.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
Well,
So-
that was a good one.
Yeah.
It was.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Little quick math.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of math in my house right now, so
Well,
I can tell you.
Yeah.
She wants to know everything is math. So,
I love the math questions.
yeah. So, all right. Well, that wraps up the news this week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version on iTunes or Spotify. And make sure to subscribe. Leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes.
Yep. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown,
And I'm John McMinn.
and we'll see you next week.